on a Thursday afternoon. Tammy till 6. And one of the big headlines, top story today, a French appeal court has ruled that more than 2,500 women, hundreds of them British, should be compensated for faulty breast implants. Many more women, including some from Worcestershire, complained of long-term health problems after they were given the PIP implants, which were filled with low-grade silicone that should never have been used in people. Gail Coxon had her implants removed after severe illness.
I'd gone from being sort of bright and vibrant and bubbly and full of energy to feeling like I was an old woman, and it was just horrendous, and it got progressively worse over the years until I had them removed. Prior to that, I'd been suffering from these horrendous nosebleeds and headaches and things, and the day that I had the implants out, nosebleeds stopped.
Jonathan STAIANO is a consultant plastic surgeon in the West Midlands and has treated a number of patients from Worcestershire. I spoke to him earlier and I asked him how this first came about.
At the time, there was a make of implant called PIP implants, which were made in France, and they were always at the lower end of the market, but still they had all the appropriate regulations and the appropriate certificates to be used. But then it transpired that the person who was making those implants in France was actually using non-medical grade silicone in the implant. So he was actually doing something that was illegal. He was subsequently found guilty and put in prison, and it put the whole world into turmoil because many thousands of these implants had been used across the world, and we didn't really know what he was putting in them. We just knew it was industrial silicone, which was not meant to be implanted into the human body. So there was a huge furore about what we do with patients, these thousands of patients with these implants in, and then that ensued a battle really for many patients to convince their practitioners or their clinics or the places where they had the implants put in to do something about it and to change the implants. And I think one of the big problems was that there was quite a difference of opinion amongst many clinics. Some clinics were very good at looking after their patients, would remove and replace the implants free of charge, but many clinics weren't, and this left a lot of patients high and dry with these implants in their bodies made with non-medical grade silicone, which the effects of which we didn't know and we still don't know.
Oh my goodness, I'm just trying to empathise with anyone in that situation when you hear that this is not medical grade silicone, but yet and you want to get this out of your body, because with anyone who's received them, they're just lay people, they don't understand the detail of this, but just hearing that headline must have been terrifying. I mean, I know you removed the PIP implants of one of our local victims of the scandal, and you must have done this for many women, I imagine.
Yes, I did, and unfortunately I did, and I say unfortunately because I actually never put any in, and really the onus, I would have said, to remove them and replace them would be on the people putting them in, and I think that was one of the problems. And I think many plastic surgeons did look after their patients, counsel them properly and changed them and looked after them, but I think many didn't, and that's why I say it's a shame that I removed a lot, because all the ones I removed were put in by other clinics and other places who obviously weren't helping out those patients, because I'd have preferred it if they looked after their own patients. But I did actually remove quite a lot of them.
You would anticipate that if you'd put one in, you'd have a duty of care to remove it. But nonetheless, you did, and thank goodness for that. And I imagine that was the sense from the women that you helped. Tell me how they were when they came to you and how they felt subsequently. I mean, the relief must have been immense for them, and they must have been so grateful to find someone like you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a terrible situation. It's a terrible situation in two levels. The first level is the absolute fact that they've got something in that they don't know what they've got in their bodies, and we don't know. We still don't know. I mean, we know it's non-medical grade. The problem with this person who was in France making these implants, when they were coming round to inspect his factory, he would change to medical grade silicone. So he was actually doing something, they were saying, we're coming next week to inspect your factory. So he would change, so they'd come next week and they'd inspect the factory. Yeah, everything's fine. So we actually don't know what's in it. So it's very hard to know how to counsel patients, because they're saying, what have I got in me? What are the effects of this? Is it going to be harmful? And all we can say is, look, it's either going to do nothing or it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be good. It's not a good thing you've got this but we don't know really what you've got, and it's very hard to counsel them. I saw patients who are trying to find out whether they've got the implants in there or not. I mean, because people don't usually know what make of implant they've got. It's not common, so they didn't even know whether they had them or not, and they were really struggling to get help. That's all they wanted. They just wanted someone to help them rather than saying, it's not, we don't know, we can't help you. And that was where a huge angst and anguish, and patients really felt left in the lurch.
In terms of the women, they'd been fighting for justice for 10 years.
Yeah.
How much of a relief must this be for them now that finally, that something has been done, that they're getting some compensation for this?
I mean, it's a huge relief. And I think when you speak to actually an individual person, it's all very well talking in general terms. When you speak to an individual person, I think most people are reasonable. They just want to be listened to. It's not their fault. They went into this operation in good faith. They've got a problem now. And I think they just want... This is why I think there was such a groundswell, because they weren't really being listened to. They weren't being helped. People were passing the buck, saying, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's this, blaming this one guy, which, yes, it was his fault ultimately, but there were also system failures throughout there. And I think it's just that they've now got acknowledgement that, that they were treated badly. There was things were done wrong. And I think that's all people at the end of the day, they just want to be acknowledged and they just want to be listened to. And as you say, it's 10 years. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it?
That's consultant plastic surgeon Jonathan STAIANO. It's BBC Hereford and Worcester. Tammy with you till Kate at 6 o'clock tonight. Still to come, we'll talk more about Park Run.